Each year in the United States, thousands of major crimes go unsolved. When the case has gone cold and police have nowhere to turn, they seek assistance from the public. This is a program dedicated to solving these cases. This is Crime Stoppers Case Files.
Good evening, and welcome to the Northeast Ohio edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files. I'm Bob France. There are over 1,400 Crime Stoppers organizations operating around the world. These organizations empower citizens like you to become directly and anonymously involved in fighting crime in our communities. We are seeing the positive impact of this every day right here in Northeast Ohio. Each week on this television program, we'll share facts with you from unsolved cases, and you'll have an opportunity to submit information that will help investigators while becoming eligible for a cash reward without ever having to give your name. Let's get started. On June 25th, 2008, 42-year-old Anthony Waters was walking down East 55th Street to make his daily visit to check in on his aging mother. He never made it because a large group of teenagers attacked him in broad daylight, beating him to death. Here's the story.
My brother Anthony was a kind and loving, giving man. We grew up basically in a single-parent household. As my brother got older, he kind of took on the role as the provider. And I remember the Bee Gees were my favorite music group back in the 70s. I was a kid. My brother's almost 6 years older than me. And he got a paper route. And he saved up all summer to get tickets to take me to see the Bee Gees. That's what kind of person he was.
He loved music. That was something that we really had in common. It doesn't matter who was playing it, what genre it was. He was really just kind of a music connoisseur.
He played the drums, the piano, the clarinet, the trumpet, and the guitar. A lot of the older music that I know is because of my brother. He knew from rap to rock to R&B, jazz, blues, you name it. He loved it all.
It was like on New Year's Eve. He was staying with us at the time, and he put his music on, and then we were dancing in the kitchen. He started doing the worm on the floor, and we were just dancing. And
he was just a very well-rounded person and just very caring and very open-hearted.
He really felt he had to take care of my mother and I. He had a scholarship to go to college and high school because he played several instruments, and he ended up dropping out of high school to get a job in a factory to take care of my mother and I.
He was like a father to us. He was very encouraging for me to go to school and continue on with my education. But before he passed away, he just had the faith in me, and he believed in me that I was going to finish school. So when I graduated this past year in May, he was the only person that was missing.
911's got me on.
Cleveland Police, you're not on hold.
We got a gentleman here just got beat up by a couple guys right on our lot at 3030 East 55th. He's beat up pretty bad. And he looks like the 3 or 4 guys jumped him and they tried to take his wallet.
All right, do we know where the assailants are?
They ran down 55th they were heading north.
All right, we'll get a car there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On June 25th, 2008, our victim, Anthony J. Waters, was walking northbound on East 55th, just passing Bessemer. This male passed G&M Towing, which has a video, and at that time we viewed who we think is Anthony J. Waters walking northbound. But after this, we have 6 to 7 males on bikes. All seem to have on white t-shirts. We assume they were juveniles. The video picks these males riding northbound in the direction in which the victim was walking. This male was beat. There were no weapons used. They were all injuries sustained by the hands or possibly by the feet. He had his spleen lacerated. He had multiple rib fractures. His diaphragm was bruised. All injuries to the trunk of the body. A short time later, we observed from the video cars slowing down as if to be looking at something. Within seconds, we have the victim come in view of the video along with 2 juveniles who are pushing him, shoving him. One of these juvenile males strikes the victim, seems like in the head area. He falls down. These 2 males run and get on bikes and flee. The victim gets up, walks slowly to G&M Towing, the building, and he was staggering due to his injuries, where he collapses. And EMS was called. He was assisted by EMS. He was transported to Metro Health Hospital, where he died with the hospital personnel trying to treat him and operate on him.
I got to the hospital first. I called my mother. Her and my daughters came. My oldest daughter drove her. And maybe an hour, maybe two, the doctor came out and let us know that he had passed. And we were devastated.
We need to close this case. This is a senseless beating and killing. They have no regard for life whatsoever. These type of individuals are the individuals that you're going to have to get off the street.
In 1975, the first Crime Stoppers organization was formed by a detective who believed media attention helped solve cases. Since then, thousands of Crime Stoppers organizations have been formed around the globe with the same mission, encouraging members of the public to stand up against crime. Every 14 minutes, Crime Stoppers help solve a crime somewhere in the world. Get involved. Contact your Crime Stoppers organization and learn how you can help. Leave a tip, crimestoppersone.com.
On June 25th, 2008, Anthony J. Waters was walking northbound on East 55th.
Well, I do know that he was on his way to my mother's house to visit her. I don't know what transpired, to make this all happen.
We have a gang of males carrying out this beating. For what reason, we don't know. We don't know if it was an initiation of some sort. We found out later there were no defensive wounds, meaning that there was no indication that he fought back, no scratching, no skin on his nails, no bruised knuckles. We take this as just a malicious beating for no reason at all. One guy just minding his own business, walking down the street.
I had to ID the body, and I still have nightmares about what I saw.
I heard that the people were like around my age, and I look around and I'm like, how do I know someone in my school didn't do that?
They could see cars going by and people slowing down and looking, but no one ever stopped. No one said anything. No one called the police. I can't believe that people are that heartless today.
I was like, please call. I think it would really help my grandma. It would help me, my sister, my mom. I feel like it would be some type of closure.
If you have that much hatred in your heart to stomp somebody and beat somebody to death, what that takes to beat the life out of a person, then I don't think they would hesitate to do it again.
If anyone out there have any information in regards to the identity of any of the males who were out there riding the bikes, who either saw it or either took part in this, our office number, 623-5464, the Homicide office. We need to get some closure for the family.
This was a large group of teenagers, all described as being black, with most of them wearing white t-shirts. How can this many people keep a 3-year-old deadly secret? If you know anything that could help authorities solve this case, we need you to call Crime Stoppers at 216-252-7463. You will remain anonymous, and you could be eligible for a cash reward. And coming up, we'll be asking for your help in solving the murder of community activist Francis Jones. That's next when we return with Crime Stoppers Case Files. On February 4th, 2002, 62-year-old Francis Jones, a longtime anti-crime activist, was killed in the driveway of her Sandusky Avenue home.
My mother was a good provider, and she took care of all her kids. She even helped out with her grandkids. She was a loving mom. I would never trade her for nothing.
She was an understanding lady, loving. She had 4 kids, tons of grandkids.
She had a big family. She loved her family. She loved her neighbors, loved the kids in here. I mean, everybody knew her.
She was beautiful, inside and out. She was fun to be around.
Very kind, very giving, but she was tough, and she wanted better for her neighborhoods. she did what she could to help.
Mrs. Jones was 62 years old. She was a cancer survivor. She was being treated for it. She would be probably nominated for sainthood. She did a lot for not only her community, her neighborhood, and her family. I mean, Mrs. Jones was the type of person, she stood up to these little punks on the street that try and take over. She tried to teach them, tried to work with them, done a lot of things that you would want a neighbor to be, that you would want a neighbor to do. The kids all knew her. Everybody respected her in the whole neighborhood, and that's really something.
She always was willing to help and give advice and just there to listen to people's situations and problems.
If I had any troubles or problems, I can always go to her. And she always come up with the right solution. She just knew just what to say.
There's not one person on that street that would have a bad thing to say about Miss Frances Jones. On Monday, February 4, 2002, while working with the Homicide Unit of the Cleveland Police Department, I and several members of the Homicide Unit were to respond to an address at 10605 Sandusky Avenue. We had a report of a female that was shot and died on a scene. During our arrival, we found her to be Miss Frances Jones. Miss Jones received multiple gunshot wounds. During the investigation, we learned the following. During the night that she was shot to death, she was volunteering. She was operating a phone bank. She left work, came home. On her way coming home, she stopped. She picked up a couple hamburgers, some French fries, and a couple beverages for her and her husband. We know that there were several people that broke into her house. We believe that there was at least 2 people, possibly 3 people that entered the Jones house. Nobody was home. They broke in through the side door. We know that they probably had been in the Jones house several times before, because as they broke in, they went to a specific area downstairs. They tore up a room looking for something. Parts of the walls were ripped up. Parts of the ceilings were ripped up. When they weren't able to find it, second best thing is, hey, we're going to take the TV set, we're going to take the computers. They pile up everything in a nice little pile up there. And I think at that point in time where they had everything, this is when this whole thing took place. And it was about 8 o'clock in the evening. She pulled in her driveway. We believe that she parked her car in the garage, got out. She has both her hands full of her purse. She's going into her house. At the time she reaches the halfway point in her driveway, they were exiting her house at that time. It's our belief as investigators, Ms. Jones probably knew, probably recognized the people that broke into her house. There was a decision that made, and it was a bad decision at that time. They wanted to silence Mrs. Jones. A gun came out, several shots were fired. Ms. Jones was fatally struck, and she waited on her driveway until her husband, Donald, came home later that evening and discovered her. At this point in time, our investigation showed that there was a vehicle parked the next street over. And we believe the suspects shot Mrs. Jones, ran through the backyard to a vehicle that was waiting for them.
My brother called me that night. He told me to get to Metro. He told me that she was shot. That's all he told me. And when I got to Metro, that's when he told me that she had died.
It's kind of surreal because when I got a call that she had been shot, it just didn't register. I mean, who would shoot her?
Once again, she was needlessly shot at. She was needlessly murdered.
Crime Stoppers is an international organization dedicated to bringing resolution to unsolved crimes. Members of the public work with police to make the world a safer place. Since 1975, thousands of Crime Stoppers organizations worldwide have helped make over 1 million arrests. Crime Stoppers acts as your advocate, keeping you anonymous and ensuring that your information gets to the right law enforcement agency. To leave a tip, log on to www.crimestoppers1.com.
On February 4th of 2002 was a Monday night, 8 o'clock in the evening. Miss Frances Jones came home from work.
And before she could even get in the house, somebody shot her right there in the driveway 3 times.
We know that the guns were shot with a semi-automatic handgun. That would be the weapon of choice out there.
We don't have a clue as to why somebody would shoot her in her own driveway. You know, if you're gonna break in her house, then leave. They didn't have to kill her. She was a human being. She wasn't an animal. She wasn't attacking anybody. She didn't deserve that. And we just need to know why and who.
I just want to know who did this to my mom before I leave this earth. I think about her every day, constantly. I miss my mom.
She was important to a lot of people, especially to us, her family. And to take her away from us, it just leaves a hole in your heart. You really don't know how to go from day to day without, you know, that special person in your life that you always look to.
At this time, we're pleading for help. There are people that know things out there. I mean, we didn't have one person involved in this. We had several people involved with it. And it's tough to keep a secret like that. You killed an innocent woman, period. If anybody would have information, or if part of that little group has a conscience, you can call us. Call us at the Homicide Unit, 623-5464. You can ask for myself, Detective Joe Chanowski, Homicide Unit. You can relay that information to any one of the officers, and we'll get back to you. If you're nervous about your identity, call Crime Stoppers. It's anonymous. Pick up the phone, give the information, we'll follow up on it. But somebody has to know what happened. Somebody's got to pay for Mrs. Jones's death.
This is an incredible tragedy. A 62-year-old grandmother who dedicated her life to making her community safer is gunned down by cowardly criminals in her own driveway. This case is nearly 10 years old now, and this family still doesn't have justice. All police know is there were 2 to 3 black males involved. If you have any information that might help Cleveland homicide detectives solve this case, please call Crime Stoppers at 216-252-7463. You can remain anonymous, and you will be eligible for a cash reward of up to $2,000. Imagine a pair of thieves rummaging through your home while you were asleep. Well, that's exactly what happened in the early morning hours of July 28th at a West 10th Street building.
July 28th, 2010, about 5:30 in the morning on West 10th Street in the Flats, an apartment building was entered. We feel that entry was gained by possibly climbing a tree out in front of the apartment and then putting themselves on a balcony of the apartment and then breaking in the balcony doors. Once inside the apartment, they obviously learned that the apartment owner was sleeping, but they continued to go through his apartment. They stole a black leather gym bag and began loading items into it from his apartment. And then they did in fact find his car keys there too. The video we have from the apartment building shows the 2 suspects exiting a stairwell into the parking garage. This video was shown to the victim in this case, and he did identify his leather gym bag as being stolen from his apartment. That's why we know that those are the 2 suspects in the burglary at this point. The video we have shows the 2 suspects exiting a stairwell into the parking garage, and that's the time that they realize that there's a camera there. They're both captured on film. It was too late at that point for them, but they retreated back into the doorway and then covered their faces and exited the doorway again in the hopes of keeping their identity concealed. But they eventually locate his Jeep Cherokee, and then they proceed to the garage door. There was some confusion as to how to open the garage door. Eventually they get the door open, drive out, and then leave the premises. The vehicle's description is a black Jeep Cherokee, 2008, and it was recovered in the area of East 43rd Street off of Cedar Avenue. The suspects are described as 2 black males, approximately 18 to 20 years old, height anywhere 5'8" to maybe 5'10", 180 pounds. You can see in the video, one is maybe a very short haircut, balding, and the other one is a little stockier with a little more hair on him, no facial hair seen. We're very eager to find out who these suspects are and the fact that they entered this apartment knowing that the apartment owner was home, sleeping. Had the apartment owner awakened, we're not sure what would have happened. If you recognize any of these suspects in this, please give Crime Stoppers a call at 216-252-7463. You'll remain anonymous and be eligible for a cash reward.
Now, these guys have not been caught, but that's about to change. They knew they were photographed, and now we're airing their faces for tens of thousands of our crime-fighting viewers to see. If you can identify either of these individuals, call Crime Stoppers and help us put an end to their criminal careers. Thank you for joining us for Crime Stoppers Case Files, where you are empowered to help clean up our streets. Remember, our towns and our neighborhoods are a direct reflection of what we allow them to be. So let's all do our part to make them safe. We'll see you next week for another edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files.